We're presenting the Religious Freedom and Civil Marriage Protection Act, AB 43. The time has come for California to honor its commitment to equality for all Californians by allowing each of our citizens the right to marry the person he or she loves. And I would just ask you, who among us would wish to be denied that basic and fundamental right? Imagine as a law-abiding, tax-paying citizen being denied respect, dignity, and validation of your most cherished and intimate relationship. The good news is that there is ever-growing support for the concept of equal marital rights for all of California's citizens. When we introduced this bill in 2004, we had 20 co-authors among senators and assembly members. In 2005, that number had increased to 30, and today we have 41 co-authors on this bill. We also know that there are more votes in the legislature for this than there was in 2005, when we historically moved the bill successfully through both houses of the legislature and placed it on Governor Schwarzenegger's desk. And I believe, with strong conviction, that this legislative support, which is growing, only reflects the growing popular support across the state of California as well. As more and more people come to understand the real suffering and real pain that is experienced by parents, by children, by family members as a result of the inequity in the current law, people come over to our side. No one learns more and wishes to discriminate more. That's just not the nature of it. We also see these growing numbers of support reflected in a number of polls. There's a recent field poll, which also documents this, and of course a Public Policy Institute poll of last autumn, which shows for the first time a plurality of support for marriage equality in California, and I'm very confident, as the details of the field poll shows, that in just a number of years, as a demographic shift occurs, that there will be soon a majority of support. Now, the reason we've succeeded successfully legislatively here in California, unlike every other state in the country, I believe is the result of our successfully describing this in the terms that we have as the civil rights issue that it is. And you don't have to take it from me that this is a civil rights issue. You just have to look at the long list, I believe a completely comprehensive list, not unanimous list, of all those organizations in California which fight for civil rights. They have joined hands with us in support of equal marriage rights for Californians because they have deemed this to be a civil rights issue. And I'm speaking of the California Conference of the NAACP and the United Car Workers and the Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund, Chinese for Affirmative Action, the Asian Law Caucus, Anti-Defamation League, National Organization for Women, the California Council of Churches, the American Civil Liberties Union. The list is very long and speaks loudly to the fact that this is basic civil rights. Now, the governor has said repeatedly that he believes that all Californians should be treated equally and fairly under the law, though in his veto message, clearly as a result of his veto, stated that he believes our domestic partnership system here in California provides that equal protection under the law. But I would share with you just one story of an individual who actually was with us at our presentation, I believe, in 2005, a man named Marvin Burroughs, who's now probably about 71 years old or so. I met him in 2004, he and his partner Bill, who'd been together 50 years, asked if I would marry them at San Francisco City Hall during that month when marriage licenses were being issued to same-sex couples. Of course, it was a great thrill and honor to be asked by this couple who had literally spent their entire lives together. They met as teenage boys, and through the 1950s, 60s, 70s, not easy years for two men to be committed to each other. They stayed together through all of those decades up until 2004 when I met them. A year after I married them at City Hall, Bill unexpectedly died of a heart attack. Now, unlike a surviving spouse, because Marvin did not have a marriage license, though they were registered as California domestic partners, merely because he did not have a marriage license He could not access Bill's pension benefits or health care benefits, veterans benefits, Social Security benefits, though they had each paid into Social Security for a half century. And as a result of being denied all of those automatic benefits for a surviving spouse, this 70-year-old man living on fixed income could no longer afford the rent on the home that Marvin and Bill had shared for 35 years. So in the midst of grieving the loss of his partner of 50 years, Marvin was now homeless. That is what our public policy making is doing. I don't think anyone hears that story and thinks, oh, that's right, that's fair. Marvin deserves that. Hardly. It's un-American. It's certainly unfair. And it's severely unjust. And we're here today to correct that injustice. So we're attempting to amend California's Family Code Section 300, which since 1977 has read, as a result of an act of the legislature of California, that marriage is a civil contract between a man and a woman to be changed to a civil contract between two persons. And I'll just close before we introduce our presenters that in 1948, when California Supreme Court ended the ban on interracial marriage, the only high court to do so, and the only state to do so prior to the 1967 Earl Warren Supreme Court decision, which finally ended the ban on interracial marriage across this country. Our justices said at that time in 1948 that marriage is more than a civil contract to be regulated by state law. It is a fundamental right of all citizens. And they went on to say that any legislation infringing upon that fundamental right must be based upon more than prejudice and must be free of oppressive discrimination to comply with the constitutional requirements of due process and equal protection under the law. They said it all. They said it all more than 50 years ago. So I would ask for your support today.